Hey everyone, it's Sam Smith with JP and Associates Realtors. I'm got a special guest today on my small business interview series. Her name is Amy Mugica, and she is a sales representative with Wine Shop at Home. Wine Shop at Home is a national brand, but Amy is a local owner and business person. And I met her because I actually went to a wine tasting and she taught me how to taste wine from Wine Shop at Home. So I wanted to bring her on here because the business model that Wine Shop operates under is very hands-on, very in-person type of thing. And I couldn't help but wonder, how is she doing business these days? So Amy, tell us a little bit about Wine Shop.
So, Wine Shop at Home. First of all, thanks for having me on. This is really fun. It's fun to get to see you this way. Wine Shop at Home is about medium-sized winery. We're a bonded licensed artisan winery in Napa, California. Mm-hmm. Artisan wine means that we make small batch wines. And that means that there are always wines selling off our menu, new wines coming on the menu. We are a direct ship to you company, which means that they're exclusive. You can't go to the store, you can't go to a restaurant and buy or try our wines. Typically, the way that people try our wines is through an in-home wine tasting. We're also the only national direct ship to you winery in the country that has our own winemaker. That's really what sets us apart from other wineries that have a similar business model. So we have our own winemaker. He is a third generation winemaker from Bordeaux, France. And he lives in Napa, now makes 100% of our wines and makes them using European standards, which are much different than American standards, unfortunately. And but that means that he doesn't add colors, sugars, additives to our wines. They're clean is a buzzword, but they're very clean. And he makes all of those. So typically I meet people doing in-home wine tastings, the way I met you. And that's how I teach people about wine and how people get to try it before they buy it and find what wines they like. And like I said, our wines are always rotating and we're always getting new wines. So there's always a reason to have a wine tasting. But things have changed a little since COVID.
Yeah, because you can't have in-person. I mean, you can, but most people, I'm sure most of your client base is not really open to having all their friends over in the middle of a quarantine.
Right. And sometimes even if the host is like, well, I'm fine with it, then there's guests who say, well, I'm not really sure I want to come out or be there. So yeah, we had to pivot. We had to figure out some different ways to conduct wine tastings. So I am back now doing some in-person tastings, but a lot of tastings that I've been doing throughout the quarantine, and even now, and we're still not quite sure, right? And everyone's still being pretty careful. We do virtually, or we do a kind of hybrid model of tasting. So the way typically a tasting works is that I have a host who gets to pick out what's called a sampler. Kind of misleading. I think of samples as little tiny things, but it's because our guests are tasting in 1 ounce increments. They're tasting 5 to 7 wines, and they're just it truly is a wine tasting. And we do pairings in home, and then my host gets rewards. Now, of course, can't do that. The wine is shipped to my host still. So how do we get the wine to people? So I have some hosts who really help come up with some brilliant concepts. So the wine now still gets shipped to my host, but we set up usually a Zoom link similar to what we have right here. And then my host pours the wine into little sample cups. I think a lot of us know them as Jello shot cups. wines in the cups at a restaurant where they would give you a little cup, and they're about 1.5 to 2 ounces. So it's perfect. So we pour the wines in there. We label them 1 through 5 or 6, 7, however many we're tasting. And then I give everybody a menu. My host wraps them up in it or puts them in a cute little, sometimes it's just a Ziploc bag. They put their little baggies, and then guests come to the port and either pick up their wines. Usually we have a put them in a cooler, or sometimes I have a host who says, "Oh, I'll deliver them, no big deal," and they go drop off. A little wine fairy comes and drops off their and then we literally get on just like this. We all have the same wines, and I'm able to do the wine tasting. And it's been really fun. If you would have told me a year ago this is how I would have been doing wine tastings, I would have said, "How is that going to work?" But it's working, and it's really fun. And everybody's still getting to try the artisan wines, and then they're getting buy and they're pairing with whatever. I give suggestions. Sometimes I have a host who goes as far as to give little cheese and crackers too. But this time I just say, "What do you have? Tell me what you have that you want to pair," because there is no wrong answer in wine tasting about what goes with what.
I was going to say you could actually just buy some Lunchables.
I had a host who did that. I had a host who had, so when I do a hybrid tasting, it is more like maybe there's like 3 people, 3 or 4 people at the tasting. So we're really socially distanced. And maybe there's 3 or 4 more people on Zoom who have picked up samples or so forth. And I had a host who was trying to keep it very safe, and she really did buy Lunchables for all of her guests. You know what? It was great. Worked fine.
Yeah, I was going to say that's perfect, and it's very no cutting, no touching, anything. So
right, individually packaged.
So you've been. Do you call yourself a consultant, a representative? How do?
Yeah. I am
just a wine diva.
Company. I am the Texas Wine Diva. That's my my last name is so interesting, and the way you pronounce it, and you said it perfectly, so good job. I always knew when I joined the business, I was like, no one's going to remember my website with Amy Mugica and how to spell it. So I just came up with TexasWineDiva.com. No one forgets that. Everybody remembers it. And a lot of people save me in their phone even as just Amy Wine Lady. And you can find me, right? I'm a consultant. I'm an independent wine consultant for the company. So this is my own little business that I run. And this has enabled me to continue to run my business because it is how I pay my bills. And keep it going throughout the quarantine. And now it's kind of, like I said, going back and forth, kind of like a hybrid. I have a few that are in person. I have a lot of driveway drinking going on.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people who say, "Hey, can we do it outside on the patio or in the driveway?" Sure, we can definitely do that. I know a lot of us have been doing that with our friends throughout the quarantine anyway. So why not?
So, and this is something that, Wine Shop has been using this sort of format for a long time. And we've noticed, over the past few months with the changes in the alcohol consumption, selling, and, transporting laws in our area, that, it's a lot easier for people to actually go buy their drinks and take them home. And there are other companies, restaurants, bars, and actual standalone businesses as well that will do similar tastings. And I think that this is such a great idea. There's also restaurants that do cook at home virtually. Yeah. And so I think this is just a great way for people to still be able to get together, have some social interaction, try wine, and not have to worry about driving after drinking a bunch of wine, which is always a good thing. And so, but, how long have you been doing this?
So I'm coming up in December. I will have been with the company for 5 years. So coming up on 5 years. And before I was a consultant with a customer, with a company, I was a customer of the company. So I've really been involved with Wine Shop for almost 10 years. I hosted parties all the time and hosted tastings before I jumped in. I always kind of joke I was a teacher, and God bless our teachers right now with all that's going on. But when I went back to work, I decided, fifth graders kind of make you want to drink. In this way, maybe I could figure out how to get paid to drink some wine. So that's why I got involved in it. But truly, it's a fantastic company. We have great wines. I feel so different when I drink these wines versus, large batch wines that have a lot of additives in them. And I have a lot of customers who feel the same way, which is how I knew it was a good product. And the wines have won. Our winemaker, Alex, has won over, I think we're coming up on 250 awards that he's won for our wines. Since he started working for us, which was only in 2013. So he's a fantastic winemaker. And I knew I was going with, we have an excellent product. And in this day and age, it's a product that we all can need. We were actually one of the only wineries in California that did not get shut down during the quarantine because we were deemed essential. And that's because we only do direct ship to our customers. We don't have, we do have a tasting room. Of course, it's closed right now, but overall, our tasting room is closed. It's only open to consultants and our wine club members anyway. So that's not our business model. Whereas most wineries, you go in, they have a tasting room. That's how you buy wine from them. We ship it to 41 different states. So we were definitely essential.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that is great. It's good to keep a good, everyone's having to come up with creative ways to keep their businesses operational. And I think I loved hearing your story the first time about how you were a customer for so long, and then you're like, why am I not making money doing this? But but you said you were a teacher prior to this. Yeah. And so did you just meet, someone invited you to a wine tasting at one point? Is that how you kind of got introduced to the company?
I actually had a neighbor who was involved and who invited me to a tasting. And then I started hosting tastings about every 3 or 4 months. I would host a tasting because the wines are changing and there's new wines. So there's always a reason to get together. And what I like about the way we do wine tastings is we're bringing kind of the wine tasting room to your home. So you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to go anywhere. Most of the time it's neighbors and friends. I do have some business owners who will do wine tastings. My daughter has speech therapy, and her therapist will, after their office is closed at 6 p.m., all the therapists, about once every other month, we do a wine tasting in their conference room. We haven't done that in a few months now, but it's a lot of fun because they know the wines are going to change and they want to see what's new and taste it, and then so they know what they want to order. It is a fun business model for sure. So yeah, I'm glad I realized and took advantage that there is a way to make money doing it instead of just hosting. So hosting the wine.
Yeah. Well, I tend to be the type of person who goes to, I'll just admit it. I go to to Specs or wherever, and I try to find the label. I like the prettiest label. Because you don't always get a chance to, especially now, they're not having any in-store tastings, like you said, so it's just kind of like, all right, well, I'll buy this and hope it's good. And that's one of the things that I remember, or that I have always appreciated about Wine Shop is that they are all high quality. I don't think there were any wines that I really could say I don't like.
Right.
of all the ones that I had ever tasted. But one of the things, and you were talking about clean and healthy, the keywords, but I remember reading that wine shop, like the sulfites and the
Right.
preservatives that are used in wine, we don't ever know how much is in a bottle that we buy off the shelf, because it's not one of those things that's disclosed, but it's very
Right.
widely used. And the levels or the criteria, the acceptable levels in the United States are much different than in other countries around the world, namely France and Italy, where wine comes from, sort of originated on a large scale. Can you talk a
Exactly.
little bit about that? Like,
Sure. So in the US, it is legal in most states for a winemaker to add sugar to a wine. So I always tell my sweet wine lovers, you know, you probably look and you know how many grams of sugar are in things on the back of a wine bottle. They don't have to put any information other than you shouldn't be driving this if you're drinking and driving. You
yeah.
shouldn't be drinking it if you're pregnant. And they do tell you the alcohol content and where the wine was made. But other than that, that's all that's required by law to be on the back of a wine bottle. So that you don't know if the winemaker went, well, these grapes aren't as sweet as I would like, and they just go and they can dump pure cane sugar in there. They
Okay.
can put concentrate, juice concentrate. So think Welch's grape juice. They can go dump that in there to sweeten it up.
Interesting.
You can do any of those things that really adds a lot of sugars to your wine, and you don't know. Another thing is colors. I was kind of unaware that it was legal for winemakers to add colors, and I thought, well, why would they? But colors are added to your wine. If a winemaker is making a rosé or a red in particular, and it's not as pretty as they would like it to be, not as rich looking, it is not called red number whatever in the wine world. A winemaker out in the hill country actually taught me this, and he said it's called royal purple. And I was like, fantastic. I don't care what it's called. I don't really want it in my wine. I asked him, how do you know? And he said the telltale sign is if you're drinking wine with a friend and you look at each other and your mouth looks like our kids after they have a lollipop, there's a sign. Red wine will stain your teeth just like coffee or tea, but it doesn't happen immediately. It shouldn't happen immediately. It's over time. So that's where the colors get added. Sulfites are naturally occurring. We want them there, actually. And so it's very interesting to me that every bottle of wine will say contains sulfites. They're in the skins of grapes. So they're naturally occurring preservatives. And we want them there. That's how there are wines from, decades and even 100 years ago that are still good wines because they've been what's called cellared properly. They've been kept in a very cool, dark place and not moved around. So the natural sulfites allow it to continue to age, and to be a good wine. Winemakers nowadays, though, ship their wines all over the state, all over the country, maybe even all over the world. They don't know where their wines are going and if they're going to sit in a hot warehouse in Texas when it's 100 degrees like today, right? Or something like that. So they're adding those sulfites for two reasons. One is it can change the flavor of the wine and influence the flavor if they want it to be changed. And then also they're preserving it for longer. But a lot of people have a either an allergy or just a sensitivity to sulfites. So that can cause like that allergy feeling, stuffy nose, red cheeks. It can even give you a headache. And so I'm not a doctor. I always say I'm not a doctor. I do know I personally feel different after I drink our wines or other small batch wines with little to no added sulfites and what I'll call enhancements, because there's a lot of things that are illegal in the US to add to wines. Because we're at European standards, our wines typically have about 60 to 90% fewer sulfites than what you go buy at the store, which you go buy at H-E-B or Specs or Twin Liquors or any of those places. There are European wines that are imported, of course, that will have lower levels, and that's why a lot of people go for those wines as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I think it's just seems so typical in our food and drink industry in this country to add stuff like non-food additives to
Oh,
enhance the taste. And some, the better option, in my opinion, is to bring out the best flavors in whatever you already have.
right.
And obviously that's what your winemaker does. And
Yes.
like you said, I mean, he's coming from a French family with French mentality, French food creation and beverage creation. And so I think that's probably the other thing that really lends to the success of the wine shop wines. And they're
Absolutely.
healthier.
They
We're not a
are
doctor either.
wines. And we don't, I know I have people who say, well, do you test the best wines? And any winemaker is a chemist. I mean, they're always testing pH and different sugar levels and things like that. There are natural residual sugars, but we don't have to test our wines to see what else is in it because there is nothing else in it. Our winemaker makes it. He knows what he puts in there. And I would say the only way to really know what's in your wine is to get to know the winemaker. And luckily, we live in a part of the country where you can go to a lot of wineries out here in Fredericksburg and Johnson City and Kingsland, and we have lots of fun little wineries. And I always encourage people, talk to the winemaker, ask them these questions. But those have been shut down, and most people don't go to wineries to buy their wines either. They go to the grocery store, they go to Specs, they go to Total Wine or whatever. So that's where they're getting their wine. Oh, there's Sam.
Oh,
He went away for just a second.
yeah, I know. It always seems to be something. Anyhow, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Well, so how can people do business with you right now? What's the best way?
They can call me, text me. I will definitely put my phone number in. If you want to attach it, I'm fine with that. 512-573-7550. And Sam, I think you have that, but you can feel free to post that as well. My website is what you see below here by my name, texaswinediva.com. That's it, www.texaswinediva.com. I'd love to tastings, either in person, virtual, maybe a hybrid model. I've done some tastings with people that were their guests were all in different states, and we did it a little different. Obviously, you can't do samples if people can't come pick them up.
Yeah, right.
But we did a pre-order where people could order maybe 3 bottles at a time, and the wineries had a lot of fun specials going on because of COVID again, so that they know people are ordering that way and wanting to try that way. We just order and everybody gets their wine, and then again we get on and taste, and I can that way kind of facilitate in that manner. But yeah, you can request any of those if you just go to my website, texaswinediva.com. You can text me, you can call me, and you can order direct from the site, by the way. You don't have to do a wine tasting if someone wants to try wines. We also have personalized labels that I have business owners who will use a lot. And we have some fun new little home labels and homeschools for guests. Yeah. So it's there's a lot of fun options on there, and we have specials going on too. So buy 5 get 1 at $9.99, and then you get reduced shipping. And there's a lot of great specials, but I'm happy to walk people through those too, because I always want to make sure somebody gets the absolute best deal.
Yeah. And just in case we haven't talked about it, I mean, one of the benefits to contacting Amy directly to have her, to host a wine tasting, even if it's just for a small group or virtually, like she was talking about, anyone who hosts it and sets this up with her will actually reap some benefit. It's not like I mean, it's definitely worth the company, and Amy will make it worth your while, not only just to be tasting
Absolutely.
some great wine, but also to be, getting free
Yes.
stuff.
My hosts get discounts on wine. They get some bottles that are for $4.99 each.
Hmm.
It's a great little system that they have set up for our
Yeah.
hosts. Our host reward program is fantastic and very, very, very lucrative for my hosts. They are always surprised at how much they're getting, just for inviting their friends to
Yeah.
try wines with them.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm so glad that you were able to join me today and talk about your business because, sometimes I think network marketing type businesses are looked at a little as if they're not actually individual business owners, but this is your livelihood. This is your only job. You are not teaching anymore. This is the way
Not
you keep
anymore.
your house going,
That's it.
and this is
I
your
pay
own
my
business.
mortgage and feed my family. So
Yeah. So, well, I'm so glad that you were able to pivot and come up with some new creative ideas. And I know you, and I'm sure you're going to come up with other creative ideas because you're just that type of person. So there may be something new coming up. You got to keep in touch with Amy to find out what new ideas that she may come up with, and new ways to enjoy wine and bring that into your home without having to go out and brave the elements, as it were. Again.
or just take your chances and choose a label that you like.
Right. I know, like
We've
what I
all
do.
done that, by the way. It sometimes that's just the prettiest label. I really hope I like that one. I
I
always tell
know.
people these beautiful labels. I want you to the label's pretty, and I hope you like it, but I want you to like what's inside even more.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, Amy, thank you so much. If you'll just hang on for a second, we'll
Cool.
say bye to everyone, and we can catch up after we end the broadcast.
Okay, thanks.